cutting down alcohol was not an option for me. Is it an option for you? Because if you can't cut down, that's the best way before you get into trouble, serious trouble, and I mean serious. Now, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. And how, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not dependent physically, chemically as I was, then you can cut down. But for years and years and years, I tried to cut down. I tried to cut down with help from family, friends, partner. I couldn't cut down. I used to try and taper off. That was a done thing then. It still is now. Go to the doctor and say, well, cut down, try and taper off. Go from 10 drinks to 5 to 4, but slowly. You can just go from 10 one week to 9, etc., etc. But what happens is if you drink and you enjoy your drink, as we all do, or did, that watch this channel, you'll soon see it build up again. Because as you taper off, you start to feel better. And you think, oh, I'll just have a few more this weekend. Even if you have a very strict plan. I actually stayed with my parents for a while. Even when I was older, I was still fearful of my father. Not fearful, but you understand what I mean, respectful. And we decided as a family that I would go there for a few weeks and taper off. So it went down from, I'll use 10 as an example, 10 for a couple of days, then 9 for a few days, then 8, etc., etc., etc. And when they were out, I knew they had a stash of home brew in the garage. So when I was down to 5 a day, I used to wake up reasonably early, have something to eat. By about 4 o'clock, I was feeling a bit edgy. And they maybe gone shopping or something. Because I wasn't out very much. I was just trying to get off the drink by cutting down. I used to think, 4 to 5 is not enough for me a day. I'll never get to sleep tonight, I'll be bored. Sitting watching TV with them or whatever I was going to do. So I used to go into the garage and open a bottle of home brew. There's so much in there, nobody would ever trace it. We also had some beer in the house, so I have this sort of sneaky can. So I was kidding myself, I was kidding them, I was kidding my daughter, I was kidding the doctor. And the only person that was losing out was me. I kept trying to do that. It was just one example. I tried to cut down in my 20s after I got married. At the time I was working in central London, and I was thinking, well, what I'll do at night, I'll go to the pub with the lads, I'll just have 2 pints. And then 2 would maybe lead to 3, then lead to 4, and then I'll try and cut down again. Couldn't do it. I think I was addicted to alcohol at a reasonably young age, and I don't think it's something genetic personally. I'm going to do some research into that. I don't think you're born an alcoholic either, this is just my view. I think it's more of a habit, and I used to love having a drink. It made me feel good, feel relaxed, and less stressed. But it doesn't really overall, that's how you feel at the time. I remember I was in a pub in just off Regent Street, and it was early in the morning, well, not early, about 11:30. And I got this pint, I thought, I don't feel very well really. Hungover, and I just held the glass up like that, I thought. I looked at the lager, it was clear. There was a brew called Brau, German beer. Brau Pils, it was about 5.5%. And I said to myself, I used to love the London boozers, all the wood paneling and all that sort of thing. And I just said to myself, I looked at the pint and I said, I know you're going to kill me, but I love it. And I drank, and I kept drinking, kept drinking. So I couldn't cut down. So what you've got to look at is, as I've said before, you have to have a reason to stop. Because if you can't cut down, you're going to have to stop. Otherwise you're going to die early. It's as simple as that. Now, I've been asked a few times to do a few videos, because I go from the extreme of being very ill to being very well, but there can be lots of times in your alcoholic journey, as it were, where you do try and cut down, and you're wasting a lot of time, really. If you can't do it, you can't do it, and you've got to bite the bullet, and you've got to say, well, I've tried my best. Some people have even been to rehab. I didn't go to rehab. I couldn't afford to go to private rehab. I wasn't never offered rehab in the NHS, just self-help groups and that sort of thing. AA wasn't for me, so I sort of do it myself. That's why the tapering off thing sounds good. But when I used to do this taper off and try and get a little bit lower, particularly when I stayed with my parents that time, I was still nicking a few beers from the garage, but I wasn't drinking as much as I used to. So they dropped me off at home. So I thought, oh God, back home, a bit bored now. I feel really pretty good. Had a good night's sleep, I've been well fed. I thought, oh, I wonder what it'd be like if I just nip for a quick pint. I got myself a taxi. And I got the pub, and the people said, oh, you haven't been in for ages, I haven't seen you for weeks. I said, oh, I've been away about 3 or 4 weeks. I've just been, doing other things. I spent the whole day in the pub. I felt so good after slowing down a bit the consumption. I still hadn't come off it or tapered off to zero, but I was feeling better. And this is the problem with relapse. When you completely stop and you're off for a while, your body will respond very quickly. As long as you're in reasonable health and everything hasn't failed, your body will repair, and you very quickly, especially if you're younger, you'll start to think, well, I feel really good now. Surely one will not do any harm, and that's what leads to the relapse, you see, and that's what kills people. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. It's no good for you. But when you're told, when I mentioned to you, you have to stop for life, it sounds too much. It's emotionally draining. That it's like, God, what am I going to do? Because the pub and alcohol is so much of our culture, isn't it? It's embedded in what we do every day. Every day there's somewhere to go for a drink, isn't there? Including Christmas Day. You get alcohol 24 hours a day. So when you hear this phrase from anybody on YouTube, or from a doctor, or from a friend, or from a relative, you need to stop for life, you've got to take it in small chunks, and you have got to use this, and it's a bit of a cliche, 1 day at a time log, or 1 week at a time, or 1 hour at a time in my case. I still couldn't do it. But you will be able to do it. Some of you will be able to come off and taper off. It's a good way to do it because your body won't react too badly to it. When I stopped, a couple of times I had seizures in the street, in High Street. I was naive to the fact that if you just stopped, you'd have a seizure, but I was dependent on it. Then you've got to see a doctor first before you do anything. But there are ways to cut down. And I would say 70-80% of people who are heavy drinkers can cut down without any major problems. But check with your doctor first, obviously, and take it in small chunks. Make a plan and say, well, from next Wednesday, I'm going to start and cut down a bit. And see if that works for you, because it does for a lot of people. But in my case, it didn't. Maybe I didn't want it to. Because when I got down to 4 or 5 and I was still nicking the odd bottle of beer, it was still at least a third of what I used to drink. And that's why I looked better and felt better. And I was, felt well enough to go to the pub again. So small chunks, week at a time, or even just do a month. I know a month's a long time if you're a big drinker. A month looked like 20 years to me. But if you can do 1 day at a time, just think, well, God, I've cracked that. One 24-hour period. I'll tell you a story here. From the age of, well, say 16 to 50-ish, I went for 2 24-hour periods without a drink. That was it. 2. I remember the nights, because I was on night duty. And for some reason, I'd taken some salad into work in a Tupperware box or something. I thought I'm going to get healthy. I did two 24-hour sessions. That was 48 hours without an alcoholic drink. When I was in hospital, I said to the doctor, because I've been off for 8 years at one point, as that 8-year spell helped me. He said, well, not really. The damage is done when you're young. It's over, a period of time. Depends on what you drink. I never drank spirits, just drank lager. It doesn't matter what you drink, it's poison, isn't it? So just think about it. If you can cut down, give it a go. But use this mindset 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time. I've been sober for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Brilliant. But don't go on Thursday and go mad, because that'll take you back to square one again. Every time you go back to square one, you go further and further back. If you benefit from the channel, please subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, please do, and I'll speak to you soon.